This video is corrections from the fraction review. And it's working with fractions part 3 that we're focusing on. When we look at the questions here, let's begin with the open-ended questions. The first of which says part H here, and it's continued from the part A section. It says, which of the answers in part A is greater than 1 inch? If we look at question G, that is our answer. When we add 1/8 to 10/8, as we have learned with adding fractions, we keep the common denominator of 8 and we add the numerators. So the answer is 11/8. Because the number on top of the fraction is bigger than the number on the bottom, that tells us that the number is greater than 1. Okay, a lot of the times with fractions, you're seeing numbers that are smaller on top than the bottom. So we've got 11/8 there. And if we were to divide 8 into 11, you could punch 11 divided by 8 into your calculator. And that's going to give you a number of 1 and then a decimal. Well, when we're working in terms of fractions, we know that 8 goes into 11 one time, and then you've got numbers left over. So the way we figure out what's left over is we say, okay, I've got 11. I'm going to take away 8. I know it goes in only one time. And the answer is 3. So that 3 is our number left over, and our mixed number ends up being 1 3/8. So if we were looking at a ruler, we would have 0 inches, 1 inches, 2 inches would be over here. This would be 1/2 of an inch. This would be 1 1/2 of an inch. We're looking at 1 3/8. So we actually need to divide between 1 and 2 into 8 equal parts. So we start by dividing it into 4 equal parts, by dividing our halves in half. And you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. Now we divide that further into more equal parts, and that will give us eighths. So now you have 8 equal parts. Well, 1 3/8 is 1/2 an inch, 1 whole inch, and 1, 2, 3/8. So there's our distance. It is more than 1 inch. Okay, so we've just actually explained part H, and in doing that have answered part I. Now let's move on to part B. So you have 1 1/4 inch plus 2 3/4 inches. Because we have the same denominator on each of our two fractions, this makes it very straightforward. We can just add our whole numbers to begin. So we can add 1 plus 2, which gives us 3. And then we're just left to worry about the fractions. 1/4 plus 3/4. We keep our denominator of 4. And then we add the top numbers. 1 plus 3 gives us 4. Now, 4/4 actually means if we take an inch and we divide it into 4 equal parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's actually 1 whole inch. So we've got 3 inches and then 1 whole inch. So our answer to question B actually ends up being 4 inches. And I'm going to just trace over that with a different color so it appears in our answers when you see the screen. So 4 inches is the answer to question A. Okay, now let's look at part B. It too is pretty easy because we've got 2 5/8 plus 4 3/8. And the reason I say it's pretty straightforward is we've got common denominators or same bottom numbers in the fractions. So we just look at the whole number, which is 2 plus 4, and that gives us 6. We keep our 8 on the bottom of the fraction, and then we add our top numbers. And again, 5 plus, I believe it's a 5 on the bottom. Let's erase that and see what, oh yeah, 2 and 5/8. So we're left with 5. We're adding our top numbers, so 5 plus 3 is 8. And again, we have 8 out of 8 wholes. So, or 8 out of 8 parts. So if we look at our ruler, we divide between 0 and 1 inch into 8 equal parts. Well, we've already divided it into 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. If we divide each of those in half, we're now going to have 8 equal parts between 0 and 1 inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts covers an inch. So we've actually got 6 inches and then another inch. So the answer to B is 7 inches. Another whole number. Okay, let's look at question C now. And we'll write that in black. Again, we've got 6 and 5/16 of an inch plus 4 and 1/16 of an inch. Because our fractions have 16 on the bottom, it makes it very straightforward. We can just start by adding our whole numbers, 6 and 4. So we get 10 when we add those two numbers together. Now we can work on our fractions. Let's go back and see what they actually were. Okay, so we end up with 5/16 plus 1/16. We keep the denominator, it's 16, and we add the 5 on top to the 1 on top, and we get 6/16. So we actually have 10 whole inches, and then not quite at 11 inches. So 6/16 of an inch. We can reduce that because we can divide 6 by the number 2, and we can divide 16 by the number 2. We can reduce the fraction. So 6 divided by 2 gives us 3. 16 divided by 2 gives us 8. Okay, so we're actually at, if we were to look at a ruler, if this was 10 inches on the ruler, and this was 11 inches on the ruler, 3/8 means we divide the ruler in half. So that's 10.5 inches at this point. We could then divide it into quarters, so this would be 10 1/4 inches. We want eighths, so we need to divide those further. So there is our 1/8. Okay, and we need 3/8, so 10 and 1, 2, 3/8 would be right there on the ruler.